Hello, BookTube. I thought I'd give you an update on the long and grueling Bataan Death March that is your July read-along schedule, since I have some updates to tell you about. So I thought I'd go through it. We have 4 read-alongs for July, and the only reason that it's only 4 is because there are a number of others that I'm sort of not joining, or not shoehorning my way in, even though I have been tempted. There's a Jane Austen read-along in July. David Murphy's doing a read-along of, I think, Anna Karenina in July. Those are tempting. Those are very tempting. But I don't want to actually murder you all. I just want you to feel envious of the dead. That's all. So I'm sticking to 4 read-alongs in July. 4. And they're all major. So I want to go over them first and give you specifics, because we're not doing a read-along this weekend. This weekend is all about me. I'm doing an enormous Q&A. I don't know where you people get your questions, but there were some really good ones. So we're doing that this weekend, and then in July, starting in July proper, July has 5 weeks, so we will be doing read-alongs in July. So the first one I want to talk to you about is the next in our apparently endless series of Trollope read-alongs. We are finishing the Palliser series of novels with The Duke's Children, the 6th and final book in the Palliser series. So, as with all the other Trollope books, it works out very neatly. We are going to do 20 pages a week. So, the first 20 pages of The Duke's Children. Let's see here. Let me get you the exact names here. So we are reading to chapter 20, which is Then He Will Come Again. So that the first 20 chapters of The Duke's Children, that is read-along number 1. That is Trollope. Then read-along number 2, trying something new. Don't know how long or how often I'll do it on this channel specifically. I mean, group read-alongs is a different thing. I play by other rules there. But for this channel, I have liked to keep my read-alongs in the public domain, so that if you are not near a bookstore, you're not out of pocket any amount of money. You can just go to something like Project Gutenberg or some other Reading Commons and download a free copy. That's what I've tried to do. That feels more egalitarian, and also it reflects my love of those older books. I love them more than I love current books, so it seems reasonable to do that. But for July, I am also, a lot of you, a great many of you, probably as many of you as will be in the read-along, said that it was perfectly fine by you to occasionally spend $1 on Amazon and get a book that is not in the common domain. So in July, we are also reading one of those, Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry, which is 102 chapters. So we're going to do 25 chapters a week, and then we'll make up the tailwind somewhere along the way, probably at the end. So in addition to the first 20 chapters of The Duke's Children, for that first weekend in July, we also have the first 25 chapters of Lonesome Dove for that first weekend, for the first weekend of, let's see, July the 4th is a Thursday, so it'll be the 6th, the weekend of the 6th. And then we have the 2 read-alongs that I am doing with other booktubers. I'm usually never involved in other read-alongs for a whole bunch of reasons, some of which are hygienic, because I smell, and others are just logistical, because doing a read-along with other readers has often made other readers feel like, oh, well, you know, I have a job, I have loved ones, I have other commitments, I have other hobbies, God help us, so I can't keep up with your reading pace. I want to stress here, in case any of you want to do read-alongs in the future, I want to stress that isn't important in any way. I will read at whatever speed you want me to for the community of BookTube. And I found 2 groups of people who were who were generous enough to let me horn in on read-alongs, and so they're going to be so much fun. With Jen from Remember to Read, Francis Joseph Burton, Brian from Bookish, and Mark from Richardson Reads, we are all doing the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant the Unbeliever. Classic 1980s, 70s fictions, high fantasy, Tolkien-esque high fantasy. There was this first book. Donaldson didn't know whether or not it would catch on. It kind of sort of did. He decided to finish it, to build it out into a trilogy, and then he decided to write a second trilogy. And we are doing all 6 Thomas Covenant books, 1 book a month, until December. And my colleagues in this read-along we're all going to be doing a video. I think the 21st is the date. The 21st of each month, we will all upload our videos talking about each book. But I have received a special dispensation from the rest of them to also do a read-along of this book, rather than just do one video. I'd like to. Those of you who might want to read along, we'll probably want, you know, more than just the one video. So this book, The Lord Fowl's Bane, is the first one that we're reading. Don't have to do. I did this one for the old Dow K Sweet cover. You don't have to. There are a whole bunch of editions of this thing. And again, like Lonesome Dove, those editions are not hard to find. I know that for a fact because I went and found this one online, and it did not break the bank. It was not. It was not. It did not impinge on a book budget. I've heard that some of you have a book budget, and it won't hurt your book budget to do. And this thing has 25 chapters. So I thought that we would do, if we're going to break this up in the month, then that is what, 6 chapters a week? That's not much. That's not much to ask, is it? No. So I thought that's what we do on this channel. No one else in the Thomas Covenant read along is going to do that, but I am going to upload a video on that, you know, that third weekend. But I'm going to do. I have received a papal dispensation to do videos on Thomas Covenant in addition to that. So again, that first weekend in July, the weekend of the 6th, that first weekend in July, we're going to read the first 6 chapters of Lord Fowl's Bane. So we will go from Golden Boy to the Legend of Beric Halfhand. So that's not much. I probably, if you're reading this book in preparation for that read along, probably well ahead of that now. So we will read / discuss those first 6 chapters on that first weekend in July. So that weekend in July, I might do read alongs on Saturday and Sunday to break it up, so it's not a whole day of read alongs. But for your sake, I don't care. I talk about read alongs all day long. And then the 4th read along that we're doing for June is Dune Tube, where I am with Elena Macrodina, Lukash of Totally Pretentious, and again, Mark Richardson of Richardson Reads, and me. We're all doing the 6 Dune novels of Frank Herbert, not the watered-down pastiche fiction of his son and Kevin Anderson. I want to stress that because quite a few of you have emailed and asked me, are any of the rest of those books canonical? Are any of the rest of those books great? Brian Herbert would say they're canonical because he's his father's son. But only his father gets to say what's canonical in the Dune universe. And his father is no longer with us, alas. And I don't think it takes more than 5 sample pages from either one. Pick the weakest of Frank Herbert's Dune books, widely regarded as Dune Messiah, and pick the strongest of the Dune pastiche novels, whichever one you think is the strongest. And just pick 5 pages from each. You'll see immediately that we're not talking about the same kind of writing here at all. Not at all. Not in the slightest. They're dim, weak, wan echoes of the original. So we're not talking about those. My colleagues for this read along are going to be doing the first 6, the 6 Dune novels by Frank Herbert, starting with Dune, one of the greatest science fiction novels of all time. And once again, I have been given papal dispensation to not. We're going to be doing videos on all of these Dune books once a month on the 3rd weekend, same as Lord Fowl's Bane or the Thomas Covenant books, but I think on a different day. I think the 22nd or something like that. They're not going to be on the same day. You'll see them. They'll be flooding your subscription feeds, and you should watch them all because with a thing like this, you're going to want many perspectives, not just one. But in addition to that, I've been given a papal dispensation to do a read-along of Dune. So that's what we're going to do for July. And so for that first weekend in July, see, now the problem with this is that if you exclude the appendices that come at the end of Dune, which I don't, you should read them, but don't read them first. And, you know, they're not necessary anyway. The story ends wonderfully at the end of its last chapter. But if we exclude those, my edition of the book has it at around 600 pages, which would mean, you know, what is that? What is 150 pages a week, right? So it doesn't really work out. It doesn't really work out in terms of named chapters, but I would say we do that. I would say for the first weekend in July, let's cover the first 150 pages of Dune, and we'll just keep going throughout July in addition to the videos that my colleagues do. So let's see here, if we were to do that around 150. So let me give you a rough idea here so that let's see. Let me give you a rough idea of where we'll read to. Okay, so around 150 is there is a chapter that starts, if you're looking through your Dune books, there's a chapter that starts, the Duke found Thufir Hawat alone in the corner room to which the guard directed him. There was a sound of men setting up communications equipment in the adjoining room, but this place was fairly quiet. The Duke glanced around as Hawat arose from the paper-cluttered table. It was a green-walled enclosure with, in addition to the table, 3 suspensor chairs from which the Harkonnen H had been hastily removed, leaving an imperfect color patch. So that is around where we want to go, right up until around then. So I know it's kind of imprecise, but Dune really isn't made to be navigated in this way. So we will cover the beginning here. So go through your chapter, your copy of Dune, whatever it was, and find that chapter. On the Ace paperback edition, it's on page 158. And it starts off with the Duke found Thufir Hawat alone in the corner room to which a guard directed him. Look for that sentence. Look for the chapter that starts with that sentence, roughly speaking. Roughly speaking, that is where we will read to on the first week of July. And then we'll do another 150 pages in the second week of July, and so on with these other books. Another 6 chapters in Lord Fowl's Bane, another 20 chapters or 25 chapters in Lonesome Dove. And another 20 chapters in The Duke's Children. Okay? So, sorry if that was a little disjointed. I hope you were taking notes. That is your read-along schedule for July. Some 3 really, really good books, and then we'll see what we make of Lord Fowl's Bane. Lord Fowl's Bane, the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, have not entered the canon of high epic fantasy. They are often on sentimental favorites lists, but they have not done it on their own in a way that other fantasy trilogies have in the wake of Tolkien. So we'll talk all about that. We'll figure out what we think about Lord Fowl's Bane, and then in the long term, Thomas Covenant. But that's a lot of fun reading to do, and we all get to do it together, which is so much fun. So that's what I wanted to tell you. That's what this video is for. Not just the read-alongs on this channel. 20 pages a week of The Duke's Children in July, and 25 pages a week of Lonesome Dove in this channel in July. But also the 2 shared read-alongs that I'm doing. And you should, of course, subscribe to all of those channels. But the 2 shared read-alongs that we're doing are 6 chapters a week of Lord Fowl's Bane. That shouldn't strain you too much, no matter how many other read-alongs you're doing. And the first about 150 pages a week of Dune. And there you go. So there you go. That's more math than I can do in one video. That is our July read-along schedule. I'm thinking, June only has a day left in it. I'm thinking that I'm not going to join any other read-alongs in July. I think that'll be it. 4 might be the maximum organic number for these things on this channel. But who knows? We shall see. But in the meantime, I'm going to wrap this up. I just wanted to let you know about your schedule. So we are going to be doing read-alongs of Thomas Covenant and Dune. So we're going to be doing a booktube style read-along, which is once a month, with my co-hosts. But we're also going to be doing a normal weekly read-along here on this channel where we discuss the book in segments, which I'm hoping will not only not make those other videos redundant, but will actually make them more interesting because you'll be much more grounded in the book. I'm hoping that's what happens. So we're going to try that, and I will wrap this up for now, but I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.